Good morning, everyone. Okay, welcome everyone to another new week. This morning on our book reading, we'll continue from where we stopped, still on the Toyota Way to Service Excellence by Jeffrey K. Liker and Karen Ross. And we're still in chapter 6, which says macro level people principle. Last week, we looked at common types of organizational design. We looked at functional organization, looked at customer facing organization, looked at matrix organization, and we looked at network organization. Today on the Toyota Way to Service Excellence, we'll be looking at principle 11. Principle 11, which says develop a deliberate culture. Develop a deliberate culture. The role of national culture. That is principle 11. Let's start with a basic truth. Culture is damn complex. Culture refers to shared values, beliefs, and rules of behavior. Try to get any two people to think alike and then multiply that by 10, 40, 10,000, and we get a sense of the complexity. There's a far more diversity of thinking in any collectivity of people than we want to accept. And to make matters worse, people come and go, and some of those who stay have the audacity to change their thinking over time. In some ways, culture is a theoretical concept that does not really fit the vagaries of the real world. On the other hand, culture seems to be a powerful construct. On the whole, looking at central tendency, we can see large differences across regions, nations, and different organizations within nations. Anyone spending time in other countries will quickly notice vast differences. One of the most comprehensive studies that qualifies national culture was led by sociologist Gert Hofstede over decades. He identified 6 dimensions that distinguish national culture, and on his own website, you can select from among many different countries and get a country score on these dimensions and a description for that country, along with comparisons. We'll focus on 3 of Hofstede's broad cultural dimensions that seem particularly relevant to lean individualism, collectivism, long-term versus short-term orientation, and uncertainty avoidance versus risk-taking. One of the concerns we repeatedly hear in companies looking to adopt some versions of Lean is that there is something particularly Japanese and Eastern about a continuous improvement culture that cannot be transplanted to the West. Let's compare Japan with the United States, one of the most Western countries. Japan, like other Asian countries, rank relatively high on collectivism. Contrast that with the United States, which is among the most individualistic countries in the world. The strong American value of individual rights and freedom from control by organization or government makes Toyota Way culture difficult to imitate. Working in terms, identifying with the organizational purpose, and following standard work are difficult. Early in the 1980s, when US auto companies were studying the Japanese companies, we would hear derogatory remarks like, "We do not want to be an army of obedient robots like the Japanese." The Japanese all wore the same uniforms, They exercised to music at the same time in the same way, and they sang the company's song. They acted like a collective. They acted like a collective, something totally alien to American workers, though not so different from those at Menlo's. We described long-term thinking as the foundation of the Toyota way. Having a strong sense of purpose focused on achieving something great for customers and society depends on long-term thinking, as does developing people patiently. The United States is relatively weak on long-term thinking, and Japan is very strong. Complementing the individualistic tendency of American culture is the tolerance for uncertainty. In combination, individualism and risk taking may be a reason for the success of entrepreneurial business startups in the United States. In many ways, becoming an entrepreneur, earning riches, and doing it our own way without a boss in the is the American dream. The Japanese are quite averse to uncertainty, which may be a reason why so many go to work for a large company for life and strongly identify with that company. Japan is a country fraught with uncertainty. It is a small island nation with few natural resources and is regularly buffeted by environmental threats, including earthquakes and tsunamis. The Japanese must struggle to maintain a balance of internal trade that depends on producing innovative, high quality products. It is a matter of survival to gain some modicum of control over the environment. A Toyota mantra is we defend our own castle, which means the people at Toyota act as though they are self-sufficient as a company and must learn to navigate the rocky environment, gaining as much control as possible over their own destiny. Through collective action, Toyota has conquered a myriad of threats from the environment and against the odds has become one of the world's leading company. Okay, this is where we'll stop for our reading this morning, talking about culture, developing a deliberate culture. Now talking about the role of national culture. It has used the Western and the Asian country as an example, using the United States and using the Japanese culture. The United States of America, they are seen as they developed the culture of individualism or individualistic culture, whereby one person can do it all or can become so many things or can become successful on his or her own. Meanwhile, the Japanese culture believes that everybody has to do it together. We have to act as one. So these are the examples of culture, and this has also reflected in their national culture, and they've played national roles in developing their culture in the country. Like if you go to if you go to the United States, they are known to work as individuals. If you go to Japanese, they are known to work as one, not just they're not just working for themselves, they're also working for national um benefit. So that is just a brief example of what the role of national culture is, using Asian and the Western country as an example. Thank you.